Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cooking by Approximation. It's the very first time we've done this in a while. I have got a very dangerous setup to record this, but I'm in a real kitchen now, so let's get started, shall we? Now, actually, before I forget, I wanted to give a big thank you to my patrons. I just reopened my Patreon. I was trying to move from Patreon to, but it was just a whole thing. A big thanks to my patrons. A big thanks to my Discord members. All links to those are in the link description. Let's get started. So one of the, staples of many people's childhood is the pancake. And one of the things that I've realized being an adult now and learning new things is that while they are very forgiving, there are some things you can do that can bring your pancakes to the next level. And this is what we're going to do in this video today. I apologize for the state of my stovetop. I just got done cooking lunch and I haven't cleaned it up just yet. The fun thing about this particular recipe is that the only exact measurement you need is your milk. Everything else can kind of be eyeballed around it. So here is what we have. We have flour, a cup of water, and for this part, for the amount I'm doing, since it's just me, I'm just doing a cup, sugar, an egg yolk. You can use a whole egg. I prefer the more fatty nature of just one egg yolk. And the pièce de résistance, apple cider vinegar, which about a tablespoon goes into the milk. And you might be asking, Evan, why apple cider vinegar in the whole milk? Well, as it turns out, if you put vinegar in whole milk and wait 10 minutes, it turns into buttermilk. And then if you use apple cider vinegar, you get a better depth of flavor in the pancakes as a result. And I'd almost forgotten. A pinch of salt. Now, I have some explaining to do for the paprika. Trust me, a pinch will do you good. You don't have to add it, but believe me, it works. Now, as for the milk, it's a little hard to see, but you can see the milk curdling by reacting with the fats reacting with the vinegar. That's how you know it's just about ready to use. Now what you do is you take any bowl that can fit the amount of, flour, paprika, a little bit more in there, egg, and others, and you start adding the milk gently and slowly. Pinch of salt, bigger pinch of sugar. Give this all a good whisk together, as it were. Just get it nice and incorporated. And now we start adding the milk in chunks, so we don't. You can always add more. You can never add less. Now that you've beaten it within the dough within an inch of its life, we are ready to get a pan, load up the heat, and get started. We're going to start this on a low heat, where if you're using a gas stove like moi, it should probably be about that big. And we're going to immediately get started on pouring these in. Now this is enough for about two medium-sized pancakes, which is fine by me. If you're worried about it being a little liquid and you want yours firmer, have at it. I like how quick and how airy these types of pancakes are, but that's just my personal preference. You can do whatever you like. So we're gonna butter up the pan so we don't get that non-stick. And now we're gonna pour in some of the pancake, and that's big enough for a first one. For these bigger ones, generally speaking, I usually like to cover them with something, just because it makes it so the heat gets trapped and they cook more thoroughly, more quickly. As you can see, it's getting just a little flat. We're just turning it over. It'll be ready to flip momentarily. And let's see if I nail it. I do. It's a little undercooked on the other side, but I'll flip it one or two more times just to make sure it gets the coverage. Put the lid back on, and now we wait. All right. The cake is a-bubbling, and now we're going to turn off the heat, take off the top, because you can see it's making some bubbles here. We're going to throw it onto a plate. So how is it? Well, it smells wonderful. When you make the dough make the dough in the batter with the apple cider vinegar, it smells foul, because of course it does. But it actually has a nice appley scent here. A light sweetness, a depth of flavor. It's good. It's really good. Now, I'm eating this with no maple syrup. Obviously, you need maple syrup, but what could I have done better? Well, looking at it, It looks less like a pancake and more like a piece of naan, which is not terrible. It still tastes like a pancake, which is important. But this is the coloring of this is a result of too much fat and not enough flour, which is, given the amount of flour I used, and the fact I used whole milk, and the fact that I used an egg yolk, this is to be expected. Flavor-wise, how is it? Very good. I can't complain. And the added sugar, I usually add honey, but I went with sugar this time. Adds a sweetness to it where enough that I feel like personally, as someone who doesn't like as many sweet stuff, you don't really need syrup necessarily. Hold on, let me grab some maple syrup. Maple syrup I'm using is a pure grade A Signature Select. Signature Select is Acme's personal brand. It's the type of syrup that stays like this consistency liquid even when it's been in the fridge. So I'll just take a little bit. I'll pour a moderate amount on top. Grab my fork. Where do I put that? And we'll try it. Let's see how it's good without it, but let's see how it is with a little bit of syrup. Great. It tastes great. I have no complaints. Now, obviously, a pancake like this is not that's this flat isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea. Feel free to go up on the flour content till you get a much more a closer, like a less liquidy and more bready type. But for this, I'm very happy. I mean, like naan. Looks like naan and tastes like a pancake. Who's complaining? Now I just noticed there's also a little appley aftertaste, courtesy of the apple cider vinegar, but it's not so poignant that, I'm upset if it went with other flavors. So how we do? So that is basically my recipe for the pancakes. Like in true cooking by approximation fashion, we had some issues along the way, and God knows I'm not doing another take. Again, everything you saw me do here is completely optional. The only thing that's mandatory is really just making sure that you, A, put apple cider vinegar in your to make your buttermilk, and second, make sure you make the pancakes that you want. I'm dead ass saying you gotta use the apple cider vinegar. If you take nothing away from this video, use apple cider vinegar on your pancakes. It's super important and it changes the game completely. I want to give a big thanks to you for watching. I really appreciate you making it to the end of this video. I like doing these and I'm going to be doing them a lot more. I've got a brand new schedule and this is going to be, and I'm going to have a rotating schedule of videos on Mondays, and sometimes it's going to be cooking by approximation, and that's what it is this time. I also want to give a big thanks to my members on Patreon. They support the show for as little as $1 a month, and they got to see this early. And lastly, if you like this shirt, I have a spring store, and that link will be down in the description down below. I have a bunch of funny little things like this that are not just Yu-Gi-Oh related that I think you might like, and I would appreciate the support, or just taking a look and see if something catches your eye. That said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Cooking by Approximation. I'm Evan from HIMedia. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, rest of your Monday if you're seeing this on Monday, and I'll see you guys next time.